Alright, so I had business travel I had to go on today, and I rented one of these Chevy Cruzes, and I got about a couple hundred miles under it right now, so I thought I would take a moment to give you my thoughts. One of the things that I don't like about the Chevy Cruz is the bars, the side bars of the windows. When you're driving down the road, everything is more or less okay, but when you're in a tight area, they take up a considerable amount of your perspective when you're sitting in the vehicle. So right now, from my perspective, I have a hard time seeing around the vehicle. That's partly, the mirrors you're going to want, but this bar right here takes up a lot of your perspective. In particular, if I come to a stop sign, and it's a four-way stop, for example, it'd be hard to see the other vehicles. So when I come up to this stop sign right here, even though this is just a regular intersection, seeing out there is a little bit difficult. One of the things I like about this car is the overall feel of the steering wheel. It feels like it's just a little bit smaller than my daily driver being a Chevy Avalanche. This one, the steering wheel is just a little smaller. It's really comfortable in the hand. The controls are great. I've had it for about 400 miles now, and it just feels completely natural after a very short time. One of the things about this particular model that I kind of like is this part and that part of the dash extending down and around there and over into this side over here. It's all cloth, so it's a fabric. It's actually the same fabric that's on the seat down here. I'm sure they did it for sound dampening, but it's kind of a neat little feature compared to most cars where it's all plastic, especially at this price point. Another thing I like about the vehicle is the way the cruise control works. It's integrated with the user interface, so if I want to increase the speed after I've set the cruise control, I hit the up button here, and then on the dash interface it'll tell you what speed it's set to. So now it's set to 67, and I press down, it'll go down to 66. That's pretty handy to tell you exactly what speed it's set to. Obviously it'll slow down and speed up as you go down the road and up and down hills, but I kind of like the way that works with the vehicle. You use a kill button over here on this side, that'll kill it, and then the off and on toggle is a physical on and off toggle right there. So kind of like the way that works. This is probably a feature that Chevy and General Motors didn't plan, but most of us don't splurge for the GPS system. We just get the regular cheapo system here. So you got this LCD display. Conveniently, you can set your phone right there, and I just have been on about a 400-mile trip, and I've had my phone set up as a GPS right there on the dash. Doesn't really interfere with anything. You can see it stays stable. So good work, GM. You didn't intend it, but you put a perfect phone holder in right on the dash. Thumbs up. And now I'm gonna start going into a couple of things I don't like. I'm 5'10", and I find that as long as I keep my legs straight out, I'm okay. But if you're going on a long road trip, like I'm on a business trip right now, and you just can't sit in that same position for that entire drive. The driver's compartment, it's not just this vehicle, it's a lot of vehicles. They've got these center consoles than almost all vehicles these days, and I always feel like it's really close to my knees, so there's not much space to spread out, and it's all hard surfaces. So every time I'm trying to find a position while I'm riding down the road, I have a real difficult time keeping my knee in one spot, because it gets right against my kneecap in one spot, and I just feel like it irritates my knee. And then in this particular vehicle, I can bump the heat controls and that with my knee, and as I'm trying to find a position, at least while I'm in cruise control mode. Kind of, to a lesser extent, I got the same thing over on this side, so I don't find the vehicle particularly spacious for my legs. The rest of my body is more or less okay. Another minor complaint I have is the size of the mirrors. I'm used to a full-size truck, and these mirrors feel very small to me. So I find myself kind of moving my body around to try to get a full perspective out of the mirror when I'm used to being able to see pretty much the whole picture. Some of that might be that I'm not used to the vehicle. The rest of it, I think, is actually the mirrors just are physically smaller than I think they should be. I want to switch gears and I want to go back to one of the features that I do like, and that's the radio. The radio has an interface inside the armrest that has a USB plug, and I'm using both an iPhone 4 and an iPhone 5. The only complaint I've had so far is when I plug in my iPhone, the radio would come on and it would instantly start playing music on my playlist. I don't want it to instantly play music on my playlist. I want it to ask me if it wants to play music on the playlist. See, right there, it's gonna go ahead and try and play the Foo Fighters. It's a good band, I dig the Foo Fighters, but I don't want to hear it right now. So, that's my minor complaint with it. But other than that, it actually interfaces absolutely phenomenal with my phone. When I do controls for navigation, they come right through the radio. You can control the volume through the interface here, and it works pretty seamlessly. No issues that I've really found, as opposed to other systems I've used. Kia had one with the Bluetooth that I used. First I loved it, but after a short while I grew to absolutely hate the way it worked. And then another one I used that I had a lot of issues with was Dodge's system. Dodge does a better job of having a visual interface, but the interface itself really worked pretty crummy. I didn't really like the way it worked, at least with the model that I was using, which is a 2013 Dodge Journey. This one I'm actually pretty happy with. I use a lot of internet radio. When I use the internet radio, it actually displayed what was playing, or the station, the internet station that I was listening to, and would skip ahead, forward, and backward with the iTunes internet radio, and also with iHeartRadio, it would display what was being played, but you had to control it through your phone. So it's a pretty good system, and I think that's only going to improve. So I really do like the radio, and on long road trips that matters. On the plus side, another thing I like is the user interface for the controls on the dash. You still have an analog display for your gas, your heat, your RPMs, your speedometer, but over here on the side there's a little twister, and you twist and it changes what's displayed. So right now there's the speed, there's the tripometer 1, tripometer 2, basically off and back to speed, and then there's a menu button on there, so you can pretty much, as you're going down the road, you can keep your eyes more or less on the road and look through your options: remaining oil life, and battery voltage, all kinds of little things, tire pressure, pretty cool. So pretty neat, pretty good interface. My only complaint is the LCD screen feels dated. It's 2014, and that looks like something that would have been really high tech in 1995. So I think they could do a little better on that, but the vehicle's already expensive enough. Why are you paying for an old ass LCD screen? Don't get that. As cars get more complex, I kind of feel like some of the older systems should be simplified, just to eliminate the number of things that are on the dash. And one of the things I give them kudos on for this vehicle is the power locks. Instead of there being a lock on each door, you still have the power window controls on each door, and all of the window controls on the master door, on the driver's side door. The power locks are one button to lock, one button to unlock. So keep it simple, and they did a good job at keeping that simple. Kind of the next phase of thing, I'd love it if somebody would finally get rid of the stupid light switch, because you don't need lights for the exterior of the vehicle. You should just have your daytime running lights on all the time, and if you need brights, use your controls for the regular brights. Otherwise it's brights or low beams. So I always find this kind of dumb. That's something else they could get rid of. The climate controls are pretty straightforward. They're all right here. And one of the features that I like that I don't always see on vehicles is a recirculation button. So if you want to recirculate the air, which makes your heating more efficient, you can do that. But if you press the button, it should now it's going to pull fresh air from the exterior. And if it's cooler out and you want to cool the vehicle off a little bit, you can do that. Just press that button rather than changing all the other controls. Or you can go back to the more efficient heating method of recirculating the air. Not all vehicles have that. My wife, for example, has a Ford Taurus. It doesn't have that, and we really wish that it did. It's kind of nice to be able to bring some fresh air in, or just leave the air as it is. A little earlier, I mentioned the cloth on the dash and the sound. The vehicle's not the greatest when it comes to noise from the exterior. I just passed a semi. You can probably hear me okay talking, but you definitely hear the road in this vehicle as opposed to, you know, a more luxury vehicle. Again, part of my gripe, you spend $30,000 on a car, and that's, you know, half a year's salary for some people, a whole year for some people. You kind of want the vehicle to be like really good quality. I know we're not buying a Mercedes, but one of my beefs with the car is the perspective. Driving down the road, you're perfectly fine. Most winding roads, you're perfectly fine. Like everything right here, going down the road, I have a great perspective. I see what's coming at me. But again, these bars for the windshields, they really, at low speeds, they block a lot of view when you're coming out to an intersection. So whenever you're at an intersection with this vehicle, I personally am always concerned about pedestrians. Well, I have a hard time seeing other vehicles and pedestrians when I come up to an intersection, because this is right where you want to be looking. You know, looking right out the window, that wouldn't be a big deal, but that's when you stop, that's right where your perspective is. As opposed to my current vehicle, a Chevy Avalanche, the perspective out at an intersection is perfectly fine. You're a little higher, and the positioning is a little more ideal. So my biggest beef with the vehicle is really just the perspective at low speeds, and that is a big deal. It's a safety issue. So this is one of these intersection things I was talking about. Like right now, my perspective is blocked directly over to where the traffic is over here. Like I couldn't see that vehicle right there until I started into the intersection. So that would be my biggest beef with this vehicle. All in all, I like it, minus this and the leg room. The rest of the space actually feels great. It's just the leg room and that. Those are my two beefs, but I'll end it on a high note, and that would be the handling. On a high note, this vehicle handles really well and accelerates really nicely. So that's a positive. Not sure it offsets my issues with the interior, but it definitely handles and maneuvers quite nicely.
Remember, folks, these are my thoughts, not yours, and they're worth precisely what you paid for them.